The disrespect did not repeat because they were that strong. It repeated because you stayed. One more reply, one more smile, one more call where you acted as if nothing had happened, and the moment they crossed the line but lost nothing, they learned something. They could disrespect you and still keep access to you. That is how a moment becomes a pattern. That is how your calm gets mistaken for permission. And by the time you feel the cost, respect is already gone. It usually does not start with one dramatic scene. It starts smaller. A rude tone, a dismissive joke, a message is ignored until they need something. A conversation where they cut through you like your presence costs nothing. You feel it immediately. That drop in your stomach, that heat behind your face, that urge to keep the moment smooth. So, you stay steady. You answer normally. You keep the door open. You act like nothing really happened. You tell yourself you are staying calm. But they read something else. They read continuity. They have access to read. They read no consequence. So next time, they come back with a little more weight in their tone, a little less care, a little more certainty that you will still be there, still listening, still answering, still available. And that is when calm turns costly. Because you are not protecting peace, you are protecting contact, and the price of that contact was your position. The first mistake rarely looks dramatic. It looks socially smooth. You say something. They cut across it before you finish. Maybe with a smirk. Maybe with that tone that makes the room go slightly still. You feel it right away. That drop in your chest. As that quiet pressure to prove you are not affected. So you make the move that ruins your position. You stay warm. You stay easy. You keep speaking like the line did not matter. Maybe you even laugh a little so the room does not tighten. That is where the pattern begins. Not because you stayed calm, because you stayed available, because they crossed the line and nothing changed. No pause, no distance, no shift in your tone, no signal that access just became more expensive. So, the moment passes. Everyone moves on. But something has already been taught. They can do that to you and still keep the same version of you. That is why it gets worse. Not all at once. Just a little more certainty next time. A little more edge. A little less respect. Because people lean harder where there is no consequence. So, do not make a speech. I do not try to win the room back. Change the temperature. Shorter answer. Slower energy. Less access. Enough for them to feel that the line costs something. Because when disrespect changes nothing, it comes back stronger. This is where disrespect stops being a moment and starts becoming a system. It does not return the same way. It returns more easily, faster, with less hesitation. Now they interrupt sooner, reply with less care. Leave your message sitting there until they need something again. Then come back like nothing had happened. And you feel the same pull again. Keep it smooth. Do not make it bigger. Stay calm. Stay easy to deal with. So you answer. You explain. You keep your tone clean while your body tightens underneath it. Part of you already sees the pattern, but the softer part says, maybe it is nothing. Maybe it is stress. Maybe I should let it go. That is how the line keeps moving. Because every time you smooth it over, they do not meet a boundary. They meet endurance. And endurance without distance looks like permission. That is why it gets worse. They are learning in real time. Your discomfort changes nothing. Your access stays open. The line can be crossed without losing you. So the disrespect starts showing up with more confidence, more public, more casual, more automatic. And then the atmosphere changes. You stop entering the room freely. You enter prepared to absorb it, prepared to manage it, prepared to stay composed while giving away more ground. That is the moment to stop explaining. Do not name the pattern while still feeding it. Change the condition. Delay the reply. Shorten the contact. Or lower the availability. Let the absence say what your extra patience never did. Because when disrespect repeats, the correction is not better wording. It is a felt distance. This is where it stops being private. Other people can see it now. Not the first time. Not even the second. But after enough repeats, the room starts reading the pattern. They notice who cuts you off, who jokes at your expense, who uses that edge with you. They do not use it on everyone else, and they notice something worse. You keep engaging. You keep giving attention to the person lowering the tone around you. That changes the whole picture. Now it is not just disrespect. It is a visible dynamic. People start expecting it before the moment even happens. You feel that shift instantly. Someone says something dismissive. A few eyes move toward you. Not to help. Eyed to see what you will do. Your chest tightens. Your mind reaches for the safe move again. Keep it smooth. Keep it light. Do not make this uncomfortable. So you answer politely. Too politely. Maybe you even try to fix the atmosphere for everyone else. That is where you lose ground. You start protecting the comfort of the room instead of protecting your position inside it. And once that happens, the disrespect spreads. Because the group has now seen the rule. The line gets crossed. Access stays open. Nothing really changes. That is how your standard becomes public. And public standards teach people how to treat you. This is how respect drains. Quietly, socially, through repeated permission. So the shift has to happen here. Do not rescue the room. Do not smile the moment it closes. Do not reward public disrespect with smooth, continued energy. Go shorter. Go still. End the exchange earlier. Let the break in access be felt by everyone there. Because once the pattern becomes public, silence is no longer empty. It becomes instruction. This is where the pattern gets expensive. Now, it is not some small moment. It happens when something matters. A meeting, a deadline, a decision with other people watching. And they bring the same disrespect into a room with consequences. They question you in front of others. Talk over your answer. Act like your place is still up for negotiation. You feel it instantly. Not just the disrespect, the risk, the pressure, the fear that if you pull back now, you will look emotional, difficult, unprofessional. So you make the move that feels safest in the moment. You stay in it. You explain longer. Now you offer clarity to someone who is no longer asking for clarity. You keep giving language to a person who is really testing access. That is the mistake. Pressure feels like a reason to stay open longer. But pressure is where patterns harden fastest. Because now they are learning they can press on your position when the stakes are high, and you will still stay fully available. Still engaged. Still trying to repair the moment with more presence. And this is where the cost gets heavier. Under pressure, people do not just watch what is said. They watch who protects their ground. If the line gets crossed and you keep over-engaging, it does not read as calm. It reads as capturable. Like your space can be pushed, and you will work harder to keep the door open. So the shift has to be cleaner here. One answer, then stop. One boundary. Then detach. No long repair, no extra proving, no pressured performance of calm. Because in a high-stakes room, the wrong kind of calm does not protect your position. It teaches the room that you can be cornered and still be kept in place. But the hardest part is not them. It is what happens inside you right after. You go quiet, but not with peace, with conflict. You replay the moment. You edit it. You soften it. Maybe I am being too rigid. Maybe walking away is childish. Maybe staying open is the stronger move. That is the lie that keeps the pattern alive. Because what you fear is not only losing them, it is being seen as cold, difficult, too much, the one who changed the mood. So you do something worse than tolerating their disrespect. You go against your own signal. You answer after your body already told you no. You keep the door open after something in you has already stepped back. That is the real mistake. You do not betray them. You betray the first clear warning inside yourself, and the cost shows up fast. Each time you ignore that warning, it gets easier to ignore the next one. Soon you are not just reacting to disrespect. You are preparing for it, making room for it, managing yourself around it before it even arrives. That is how self-respect drains, not in one collapse, in repeated self-abandonment. So believe the first hit, not the excuse that rushes in after it. If the line was crossed, change the condition, reduce access, do it early, do it quietly. Do not wait until your dignity has to beg for the boundary your instinct already gave you. This is where the damage stops being social and starts becoming personal. Eyes not all at once, slowly. You become the person who is still there after the line is crossed, still answering, still reachable, still easy to keep even after being treated the wrong way. People feel that. They may never say it, but they feel that keeping access to you costs less than losing your respect. And that changes you. You stop measuring yourself by what you protect. You start measuring yourself by what you can tolerate. How much can you absorb? How normal can you sound while something inside you keeps closing? That is the mistake. You call that strength. It is not. Strength is not endless availability. Strength is knowing when your presence stops being a gift and starts teaching the wrong lesson. And the cost is brutal. The longer you stay where you are treated lightly, the harder it becomes to believe your absence matters. That is how identity shifts. You stop acting like someone whose access has weight, and start acting like someone who can always be kept. So do not prove your worth by remaining. Prove it by becoming harder to keep once the line is crossed. Not louder, not colder for show, just less available. Because when your presence has no condition, your value starts to look negotiable. This is the moment the truth becomes impossible to miss. The disrespect was never only in the words, it was in what happened after. They crossed the line. You stayed. They came back the same way. You stayed again. That is why the pattern is clear now. Not because they misunderstood you, because they understood you perfectly. They learned that your discomfort does not change their access. And that realization hurts, because now you can see how many times you tried to protect the connection while the connection was costing you respect. So the correction becomes simple, not comfortable, simple. When the line is crossed, the condition must change. Less time, less access, less availability, no long speech, no emotional defense, no final explanation to make them see your value, just movement. Step back, shorten the reply, leave the room, end the call. Do not return like nothing happened. That is the correction. Because respect rarely comes back while your access stays unchanged. It starts returning when your absence becomes real, and that is when the identity shifts. You are no longer teaching people how much you can tolerate. You are teaching them what it costs to mishandle your presence. Walking away is not the overreaction. Staying after disrespect is. Respect is not lost in the first bad moment. It is lost when the line gets crossed and your presence stays the same. That is the truth people avoid. Calm is not staying reachable. Calm is knowing when to remove your presence without explaining the move. Because some people do not respond to words. They respond when access is no longer free. And the moment you stop offering yourself to people who mishandle you, the pattern breaks. Not loudly, decisively. That is not a distance for drama. That is self-respect becoming visible.